See, Jesus wants us to become children, to be with Him. He says, don't stop the children, let them come to me. What does it really mean? Is there a spiritual depth to it? See, when we talk about children, what are some of the things that come to mind, what the children are like?
Their innocence,
Mm-hmm.
their playfulness,
Mm-hmm.
in certain ways, their purity.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, they're unpretentious, isn't it? See, when we were children, when we were babies, we did not have an ego. God created us to live in a way in which our soul controls our mind. See? So, all those attributes that you just mentioned were a manifestation of our soul. Then obviously we grew up. So, growing up, it's not easy, with the soul and the mind. Because we came across a lot of obstacles along the way. People were not kind to us. People bullied us. And we were trained methodically to compete. So we were not taught to love, but taught to compete. See, competing means overwhelming the other person, and you gain control over that person. And that is, that's our training, and that's how we were trained. And we did not come across people who were always loving. We encountered a lot of bullies. And, we even came across teachers, who were not kind, but, who were condescending, belittling, and made us feel some way or other stupid, or naive. So we were made to feel all kinds of ways, which really were not inherent in us, So we need to actually had to develop a certain persona about ourselves so that we can project ourselves, as tough, competitive, and to cope in that kind of an environment. And so in the process of it, we developed an ego. We developed a certain way of projecting ourselves and, a certain way of coming across to other people. And, so it became very relevant to us. It is not what we think of ourselves as, but what others think who we are. Okay? So, in order to protect what others think who we are, the ego began to develop. So the ego identified as somebody we wish to be, not somebody as we are, as we really are. And we learn to love not as an expression of our soul, but as something that we can transact. If I do this, this is what I expect to get from you. So I'll do this much, you need to do that much.
If they do.
Yeah, if they do. And that expectation was there throughout, everything we do. And we expected loyalty from other people. We expected, friendship. All of that, it had to do with, something that I give and in return you give. Another thing that happened to us along the way, our education system, even our religion, they're very traditional. They're very historical. So everything that we learned along the way is to reflect on something that's already been defined. You see what I mean? And do something that is going to benefit us in the future, or in the exam that we are going to take in 2 weeks. You see? So we learn to sort of reflect on the past for a benefit in the future. Okay? And this is how we all grew up. This is how we all became adults, adolescents, adults, and even here we are in an old age. That is what we are doing. Okay? But the thing is, the religiosity is very different from spirituality. Religiosity, especially if it has to do with the church, it has to do with traditions, it has to, do with history, it has to do with cultures and all of that were all 2,000 years ago. And for us, it is reflecting on what happened 2,000 years ago or more, and and then sort of contemplate on the past, and pray for some benefit in the future. So even the relationship with God became transactional. You see? So even, when we come to senior centers and all of that, they want to kind of work with your mind, activities that are related to your mind, because they want your mind to be in control. Mind to be in control of what? Is it your ego or is it your soul? Okay, so who is controlling your mind? Is your body controlling your mind? Well, that's what the definition is, but it's not actually. It is your ego. It is your insecurities. It is your fear of what might happen, when I lose all of these. See, that's really what it is. You see? But spirituality is not about our body, which is mortal, which is perishable. It's not even about our ego, that doesn't even exist. That shouldn't exist. And it's not even about our mind. Okay, because it is everything, it has to do with our soul and the spirit. So how the soul and the spirit is going to operate your mind, that is, we are not in control of that. Mind is surrendered to the soul and to the spirit. See, but everything happens when you are in the realm of spirit and the soul is not something has to do with history. It is not something that has to do with traditions. It is not something that has to do with doctrines. It is not something to do with any such things. Because the reason why is it is not a matter of past and the future. See, soul is in the present moment. God is in the present moment. Everything that is going on within us, as far as God is concerned, as far as the Holy Spirit is concerned, it is happening in the present moment. It is not an extension of what happened 2,000 years ago. Everything is now here. Okay? So, and that requires us to go back to the mind where, God intended when He created it, and that has to do with our soul in control of our mind. So when we talk about our soul being in control of our mind, we need to kind of remove all these rough edges, that's been created, that's been formulated, that's been hypothesized, and that's been built up and all of that, which everything is fake. That has nothing to do with our soul. Okay? And the reality of all that experience as we go through, a spiritual growth and all of that, it's a matter of bringing us back to how we were created. That is, our soul is going to be in control of our mind. You see? So when somebody rattles us, when somebody bruises our ego, somebody hurts us and all of that, there is one way of looking at it, that is somebody is doing something to us. There is another way of doing it to us. God is giving us an opportunity to see who we really are. What is the fakeness about us? So we can come to the point in which our soul is going to rule our mind, not our ego, not our emotions, not how we feel, not how we comprehend a certain situation, nothing to do with any of it. When you are a child, you are an inexplicable, ineffable bundle of joy, love and gratefulness. That's what you are. And that's how we are meant to live all our lives. So spirituality is a process of going back to that childhood, that childhood bundle that you were. That's what it is all about. That's what Christ wants in you. So Christ can have a life in you. Not just you only. You're not the only one who is going to have a life in Jesus. Jesus also can have a life in you. So it actually works both ways. When we become a child, then everything happens, everything falls in place. And this is the reason why in Eastern, spirituality and all of that, they call that process self-realization. You see, self-realization actually means who are you as the created being that you are. You see? So we have gone off track in so many different ways. So when we feel somebody, they have betrayed us, they have been not loyal to us. So, they kind of, pointing their fingers, at us, or they kind of, yelled at us, or they kind of called us that, called us this, called us that. Yeah, it all happened, I agree, granted. Is God giving us an opportunity to look at us in a different way, in a different angle, so that we can reconcile ourselves with our soul, not with our ego. You see, so that is what a lot of bad experiences, if we really reflect on them deeply, that is what is going on. So the self-realization is not anything, a strange phenomenon. Self-realization actually is you come, one on earth with the image and likeness of God that you are. That's really what it is. But ever since we were 3 years, 4 years old, we just went off track. And we kind of grew up in a different way. So that's what it is. So the spirituality is about, come to terms with who we are as the image and likeness of God. That's what it is. So if somebody challenges us, if somebody is pointing, something at us, or treating us badly, or betrayed us, or whatever it is, then sure, handling with that situation is different. But what does that situation mean to God? Why Jesus gave us that experience? What am I going to get out of it? And how is God going to benefit from it? Because mind you, as much as you want to have a life in Jesus, Jesus also wants to have a life in you. So how is that going to happen? So self-realization is really coming, so in full alignment with the image and likeness that we are to our mind. Not the fake being that we are, not the projected being that we are, not the competitive being that we are, not, this is how I want you to know me, part of it. Forget that. You want other people to know your fake self, but you feel hurt, when your own self is challenged. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. So, my suggestion is, yes, all of us are going to have that experience. Especially in a spiritual journey, such experience is not unusual at all. Okay? So sure, deal with that situation first. There is no question about that. You have to use our prudence. We need to pray. We need to say Psalm 91 and 23 again and again, in our prayers, and surrender ourselves to God. Let God take care of all those things. You come back in alignment. That's really how we need to approach such a scenario from a spiritual angle.